We finally saved up to buy our first house. At the closing, my in-laws walked in and said, "Surprise! We bought the house next door." I laughed until I saw the blueprints. They'd already installed a gate from their backyard to ours. After years of saving, my wife Sarah and I finally bought our first home in Naperville, Illinois. It was a charming 3-bedroom Craftsman with a spacious backyard, perfect for our future family. We were ecstatic to start this new chapter. On closing day, as we celebrated with champagne, the doorbell rang. To our surprise, Sarah's parents, Mark and Diane, stood there with a welcome home cake. Behind them, movers were unloading a truck into the house next door. "Surprise!" Diane exclaimed. "We bought the house next door." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. Mark handed me a rolled-up blueprint. Unfurling it, I saw a detailed plan of their backyard and a gate connecting directly to ours. They had already installed it. At first, we tried to be understanding. They said it was for convenience to help with future grandkids. But soon, the gate became a revolving door. Diane would appear unannounced, commenting on our landscaping choices. Mark would use our shed without asking. They'd host loud parties that spilled into our yard. We asked for boundaries. They laughed it off. "We're family," they'd say. I installed a lock on the gate. The next day, it was removed. I put up a fence. They called the HOA, claiming it violated community aesthetics. We were trapped. I started documenting everything. Photos, videos, timestamps. I consulted a real estate attorney who confirmed that their modifications were illegal. I filed complaints with the city and the HOA. Then I got creative. I installed motion-activated sprinklers aimed at the gate. I planted thorny bushes along the fence line. I hosted my own loud parties, inviting friends with motorcycles and sound systems. I made their lives as uncomfortable as they had made ours. The city fined them for unauthorized construction. The HOA issued warnings. Their property value dropped. They put their house on the market within 6 months. When it sold, we celebrated with a backyard barbecue, free from uninvited guests. We thought we were winning. The city fines, the HOA warnings, the embarrassment, it all seemed to be working. But we didn't realize how petty and vindictive Mark and Diane could be. About a week after they listed their house, weird things started happening. One morning, I walked out to find our trash bins tipped over and garbage scattered across the lawn. It looked like an animal had gotten into them, until I saw the security camera footage. It was Mark. At 3:17 a.m., he walked out in his robe, looked around, and calmly flipped our bins like it was nothing. Then he walked back like he hadn't just acted like a complete lunatic. I sent the footage to the HOA. Their response? "We'll look into it." Nothing happened. That same week, Diane started a smear campaign around the neighborhood. She told neighbors that Sarah and I were aggressive, that we yelled at her through the fence, that we were trying to ruin the community's family-friendly vibe. We found out from a sweet old couple across the street who came over with cookies and a lot of awkward curiosity. Then we noticed one more thing. Every time we left the house for more than an hour, someone had clearly been snooping around our yard. I put up new cameras, hidden ones this time, and confirmed it. Mark had a key, not just to the gate but to our shed. And apparently he had been copying it and using it to mess with our stuff. Tools would be moved, lights unplugged, small, irritating things just enough to get under our skin. I changed the locks on the shed, twice, and then bolted the inside. I confronted Mark in front of other neighbors. He denied everything, smirked, and said, "You might want to watch your attitude. This neighborhood watches everything." It wasn't just a threat. I think he meant it literally. We started noticing a silver sedan parked across from our house at random times. It wasn't one of the neighbors' cars. I took photos. The same guy inside, just sitting, watching. I told Sarah. She panicked. She didn't want to call the police because she thought it would make us look paranoid. But I knew this was bigger than a feud now. Mark wasn't just being annoying. He was obsessed with control. Then something happened that I didn't expect. The house next to us didn't sell. Mark and Diane took it off the market. When I asked why, pretending to be polite at a neighborhood barbecue, Diane gave me a look I'll never forget. She leaned in and whispered, "We're staying. We realized it's better to be close for the grandkids. We don't have kids." Sarah and I were trying privately. Only close family knew that. And we hadn't told anyone it wasn't going well. Somehow they knew. And they used it. That night, Sarah broke down crying. She felt trapped, like they were everywhere. She didn't want to go outside anymore. She hated being in our own backyard. A house we worked 10 years to afford had become a prison. We argued. A lot. She blamed me for not stopping them sooner. I blamed her for not backing me up when I wanted to take legal action. One night, she stayed at her sister's. That's when I decided I wasn't going to take this anymore. I spent 2 full weekends going through the city records. Zoning laws, HOA covenants, noise complaints, property lines, everything. I talked to a real estate agent. Then another. Then I went to the city council's public forum and laid everything out. The unauthorized gate. The surveillance. The harassment. And then I dropped the bomb. I had video proof that Mark installed the gate 3 weeks before they even closed on the house. That meant he'd broken into a property he didn't legally own. City council perked up at that. The next day, I contacted a local journalist who ran a small neighborhood watchdog blog. I gave him everything. It didn't take long. The blog post went semi-viral locally. Suburban nightmare, in-laws from hell buy house next door, install secret gate. Photos. Video clips. My written statement. All of it made public. Then the local news station picked it up. Suddenly, Mark and Diane weren't smug anymore. The neighborhood looked at them differently. HOA board meetings got tense. Someone egged their car. Diane cried in her front yard, yelling at Sarah, "How could you do this to us?" But I hadn't even started yet. For a couple weeks after the blog post went viral, things got quiet. Too quiet. Mark and Diane stopped with the trash games, the snooping, the passive-aggressive comments. They kept their heads down. It was almost peaceful again, and Sarah and I started breathing normally for the first time in months. Then the certified letter came. It was from a lawyer. Mark and Diane were suing us for defamation. They claimed we had intentionally destroyed their reputation and caused them emotional distress. They even said we cost them tens of thousands in lost home value from the failed sale, and they pinned the blog post and the local news segment squarely on us. Sarah lost it. I didn't even know you could sue your own daughter and son-in-law for telling the truth. We lawyered up fast. During the discovery phase of the lawsuit, our lawyer subpoenaed their emails and texts. And that's where everything changed. They found messages between Diane and someone named MJ. Turns out MJ was a real estate agent, the one who originally listed their house. The messages were chilling. "Diane, they'll never see this coming. Once we're next door, we'll raise the grandkids right." MJ. "You sure the gate won't be a problem?" "Diane, I have the contractor booked before closing. It'll be in before they even move in. They won't have a say." "Diane, and once they're frustrated enough, they'll move. We'll offer to buy their place at a friendly discount. Everyone wins." They planned to take our house. They wanted to drive us out, then buy the home we poured a decade into just so they could control it, too. When Sarah saw those messages, something inside her snapped. She went quiet, like cold-blooded quiet. I watched her text her sister, her brother, her cousins. Within an hour, we had a small army ready to back us up. Everyone had a story. Apparently, Mark and Diane had pulled power moves like this with other family members, just never this bold. Sarah decided to go public. She sat down with the same journalist who'd written the original blog post and gave him everything. All the emails, the gate photos, the security footage, and the lawsuit documents. A new article dropped, "In-laws from hell, the plot to steal their own daughter's home." The local ABC affiliate picked it up this time. Then a national news outlet. Then a podcaster who specialized in real estate horror stories asked to interview us. Mark and Diane became infamous. Their faces were on Reddit, TikTok, Instagram. Someone even made a dramatic reenactment on YouTube that got 1 million views. The internet dubbed Diane the Gate Mother. They dropped the lawsuit the next day. But it wasn't over. The HOA called an emergency meeting. Neighbors demanded the gate be removed immediately. One board member said it's not even about property lines anymore, it's about trust. The board voted 9-0 to order its removal. Mark tried to object, yelling about family rights and legacy planning. No one cared. Contractors came the next morning. The gate was gone by lunch. Then someone tagged their fence with spray paint that read, "Family doesn't stalk family." I don't know who did it, but I didn't lose sleep over it. Just when we thought we'd finally reached peace, a knock came on our door. It was a city inspector. Mark and Diane had filed a complaint about an illegal shed extension on our property. We didn't have one. But Mark had doctored photos and even tried to claim we were using unpermitted electrical wiring. This time we were ready. I handed the inspector a flash drive with the real blueprints, city permits, and a 2-minute security video showing Mark standing on our lawn taking measurements like a weirdo in the middle of the night. The inspector left and filed a report. Not against us, but against Mark. For trespassing. Again. And this time, the police got involved. The police came by 2 days later. They weren't just there to ask questions. They had a warrant. Turns out that doctored photo Mark used in the shed complaint was more than just annoying. It was fraud. He'd submitted it as evidence to a city agency. That made it a crime. They arrested him on the spot for filing a false report and trespassing. Diane came out screaming, waving her phone like she was recording a documentary. This is harassment. We're the victims. But no one was listening anymore. The neighbors gathered on their porches and lawns, watching in silence. I'll never forget the moment Mark was put in the back of the squad car. Sarah didn't say a word. She just stared. Mark was charged, and although it was a minor offense, it was still on record. Diane spiraled. She went on social media rants, blaming fake news, calling the entire neighborhood toxic, even posting pictures of us with captions like, "Would you trust these people with your children?" Her last bridge burned when she showed up at a city council meeting and screamed at the mayor about backyard tyranny. That clip went viral. Again. Their family, our family, everyone turned on them. Sarah's sister blocked them. Her cousins stopped talking to them. Even Diane's own brother said, "Maybe it's time you look in the mirror." A month later, a letter arrived. Mark and Diane were moving. They offered us the chance to buy their house before they listed it. They wrote, "We feel it's only fair you have first rights. We want to restore harmony to the family. Let's put this behind us." The asking price? $50,000 above market value. That was the final straw for Sarah. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just laughed. A cold, bitter laugh I'd never heard from her before. Then she told me her plan. We didn't buy their house. Instead, we called a friend of mine from college, a real estate developer. He wasn't interested in buying the property to live in. He wanted to turn it into a short-term rental for visiting medical workers and traveling nurses. And we helped him do it. We gave him every detail about the lot. Helped him get through the HOA board. We backed the variance request for extended guest stays. The HOA, still furious with Mark and Diane, approved everything. By the time their house hit the market, everyone in town knew it would become a rotating door of strangers. Their listing sat for weeks. Then months. No bites. People came, saw the news articles, saw the cameras we still had up, and backed out. They ended up selling it for $90,000 below what they paid. To our friend, who then painted the entire exterior a loud, modern teal, just enough to clash with every other neutral house in the neighborhood. Mark and Diane moved to a rundown duplex 2 towns over, into a neighborhood with no HOA and no family nearby. Do I regret anything? Yes. I regret not putting up a fence the second they bought that house. I regret laughing when they showed up with that blueprint. I regret thinking we can be civil. But I don't regret the revenge. Sometimes you have to be the villain in someone else's story to be the hero in your own. Sarah and I still live in that house. We rebuilt. We planted trees. We got a dog. And that gate? Gone. But the spot where it was? We put a stone there. A little garden statue. It's a gnome with a tiny sign that says, "No trespassing." Not even you, Grandma.